Hi everybody, I am back with the first of 3 homemade flower tutorials. I figure we'll do this one first because this one's probably the most complicated. It's not hard, probably a little more time consuming than the others. But I'm going to call this a pleated ruffled flower. And it is easy to do, just takes a little bit of time. So I just have some plain muslin here, and I've already threaded my needle with contrasting thread so you can see, and I have some straight pins, and that's all you're going to need. So I'm not quite sure how the best way to explain this is going to be, but what you're going to do, and you can make this as large or as small as you want. But this particular piece of fabric is 17 inches wide by 8.5 inches high. So, you know, whatever height of fabric you want to use, I guess will determine the number of pleats that you're going to get at the end result. This one actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers to it. So we're going to get a 5-layered flower out of a single piece of fabric. This one might only be 4 layers, but we'll see how it goes. So, and I don't really measure anything. I folded up the edge, you know, just to get it started. And what I'm going to do is lift the entire piece, holding the ends, and let the fabric fall back behind my original fold. Then I'm going to lay down, face down from my original fold, bring it back around, and I'm going to expose a little bit of the new fold. So I hope you can see that. There's actually 2 folds there now. I'm going to do the same thing, starting at I'm going to call this the top edge, folding it back behind it, laying it face down, and I'm only going to get 3 pleats out of this width of fabric because of the size that I started with, but you'll get the general idea. And you fold it back over, and there's 3 pleats. So these pleats are actually larger than what I did initially. This is going to be the edge that you're going to be sewing with. Oop, didn't mean to let go of that. These are going to be the layers of the flower petals. So what I have done, I've basically... last week I went ahead and already folded one and I stitched it, and I'll just start doing a preliminary stitch on this, but before I do that I'm going to pin it down so that my layers stay fairly even. So just a few pins. Okay, so this is the front, and I have it pinned, and what I did, oh, that one's a little bit off. I'm going to show you the back also, because it's going to make a difference where you sew. You can see, hopefully you can see on the back, this is the edge of my fabric. So when I'm stitching, I need to make sure that I am stitching above these straight pins so that I know I've got all the material. And you're just going to do a basic running stitch, and I'm going to do this from looking at the back to make sure that I get it the way I need to get it. Make sure your thread is knotted, and I do fairly large running stitch. It's faster, and to me it makes it a little bit easier to gather. Take your pins out as you go, makes it a little easier. So I don't want to pull on the fabric while I'm stitching it. I want to try to keep it all in one piece. So again, it's just a basic running stitch, and you're going to take that all the way around, all the way down. And I'm not going to do that on this one, but it's just showing you running stitch real quick. And I'm sure you're already familiar with it, but just in case there are any of you who are not. Okay, and obviously it's not perfect. That's the front, that's the back. And I'm going to go ahead and pick up the one that I had already stitched. This was actually a pillowcase. So it's stitched. There, you should be able to see the stitching there, but see how high up that is compared to the distance of the fabric, because when I was folding this, I was actually doing it on my lap, so all my bottom layers are not necessarily even. Okay. So you're just going to grab the end of your thread and start gathering your fabric. And you can have it as loose or as tight as you want. And then you just kind of play with the gathers until you have it formed how you want. What you can do if your threads are up kind of high, I'm just going to ungather this for a second. If your threads are up kind of, your stitching is up kind of high, you can trim down below your stitching. And that might help you get a cleaner gather also. Okay. So I'm picking up my thread, pulling to gather. And what I didn't think about on this is that I had actually knotted this thread so that it wouldn't disappear before I got back to it. So I'm still going to have to get in there and stitch up my ends. Okay. And I think in the interest of time, let me get a clean edge here. Clean edge here. I think I'm just going to glue it down in the interest of time. So I'm going to take the edge, and since I'm going to glue it, I'm just going to fold that a little bit. And make sure I've got my gathering. And I'm just going to put a little glue on there to secure it a little bit. Give it. Yes, that glue is a little bit warm. Just got my finger in it. Sorry about that. Broke away for a second. Hubby popped in. Didn't realize that I was taping. So I've just glued together rather than stitching for a finishing edge. So this is what you have, and you actually have a couple options here. You can leave it like this and put a backing on it and put a center on it. Or what I had done was actually pull up this very first layer just to give it a little bit of dimension, and you can pull up all the layers if you want to. See, with the glue, once I get to that spot, it might be a little bit of an issue. So I'm just pulling it up away from the next layer, and it gives you just a little ruffle in the center. Okay. Just pulling away from that layer. And of course, where I glued, a little bit of an issue. But if you go ahead and stitch it properly, like you would close off any other gathered flower, then you won't have that problem. Now, you can leave it like that if you want to. I'm going to pull up another layer just to see. And this will actually give your flower a little bit more dimension. But what's really great about this, if you decide you don't like it roughly like that, see that gives it a little bit more dimension. If you don't like it roughly like that, then you can just pretty much go around and just manipulate with your gathering a little bit more, and that'll flatten it. I think my thread broke. Something happened there. There we go. Just manipulate your gathering again, and it flattens itself right back out. So you do have some options there. You can have a flat layered flower, as many layers or as few layers as you want. You can pull up, separate the layers, pull up on them, and add some dimension, a little ruffle in the center, whatever you want to do. So that is that one, and that was the end result. And I just glued it on a cardstock circle on the back. So that is a pleated, gathered, flowered, pleated, gathered / ruffled, whatever you want to call it, flower. And again, it's just folding the fabric so that you have different layers of folds, and then stitch, gather, close, and you're done. Okay, so I hope that was understandable, and if you have any questions, let me know. The next video will be, I think, this flower. But I did learn something when I was doing this, so I think I'm going to try to modify a little bit what I did. So we're going to learn that together. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.